Hello, and welcome to the Evolve and Elevate podcast. I am Jacob Fry, your show host and humble servant. I have an unwavering belief that no matter where you are, who you are, what you have, or what the story of your past may hold, you have the ability and inner strength to design and realize your best self tomorrow, if only you will put in the effort today. Welcome back. This is episode 2 of the Evolve and Elevate podcast. This episode's focus is on everyone's favorite F word, failure. Failure is an inevitable part of being human. It is something that no one gets a free pass on. From the moment we entered the world, failure is present in all our lives. The great thing about failure, and my personal favorite aspect, is that if you fail enough and learn from your failures, you will inevitably succeed. From our first attempts to walk as a toddler, we fall, crawl, and struggle over and over again. After numerous failures, we start getting stronger muscles. We start getting more deliberate in our motion, and we are able to balance long enough just to make that stretch from the ottoman to the couch. Failing our way to success is where we'll start today. Success is inevitable if only you will fail enough to succeed. I have personally failed countless times and continue to do so often. In fact, I try to push my body to failure daily in the gym. Sick, right? Who wants to force themselves to fail? Honestly, no one. At least I'm sure no one. But I believe that reframing that thought process is what makes it more easy to digest. I prefer to not view it with that approach. Rather, I prefer to look at failure with a growth mindset, meaning that failure isn't an unfortunate setback. Rather, it is a lesson learned and a stepping stone forward. Or in the case of the gym example, failure today is the precursor to a stronger body tomorrow. As promised, I'm going to dive into a handful of personal stories and failures and how, in the moment they seem negative, ultimately they turned into powerful lessons learned that helped me succeed better down the road. As I mentioned on the previous episode, I dropped out of high school at the age of 16 and obtained my GED a couple of years later. As you hopefully know, I didn't drop out because of lack of interest or intellectual capacity. Rather, I had to begin working full-time to support my daughter. At the time, I thought I would be doomed to a life of menial labor roles for minimum wage, which I certainly was for a time. However, beginning at age 16, I was working 6 days a week consistently. I learned the importance of being reliable. I learned work ethic. I learned what was required to survive as an adult. I also learned that I was not satisfied with staying where I was. And, luckily, as Jim Rohn states, and this won't be an exact quote, but jobs in the U.S. economy are ladders. You can stay at the bottom and make minimum wage, or you can begin to level up your skills and acquire tools to climb that ladder. You can work at McDonald's where you'll likely make minimum wage, or you can level up your skills and work at McDonald's and whistle and smile while taking out the trash and soon get a raise. It's important not to rely on the external environment to raise that minimum wage and lift you up that ladder. Rather, go read, learn, attend courses, learn a skill, and level up so you can climb it yourself. Eventually, I decided to do just that and sign up for courses at the local community college. Lacking reliable transportation at the time forced me to ride a bicycle more than 10 miles to the classes, before and after work some days. Dropping out of school and stepping up taught me grit, and grit is something that has helped me every day since those trying times. Another lesson I learned from failing is to never stop exploring and trying until you find your purpose and fit. We all want to have our life figured out by our early 20s, and it just doesn't work that way. When I began in school, I started a degree path in criminal justice. I wanted to be a patrol officer. In my childhood, I had had several strong relationships with officers that frequented the, quote, projects, unquote, of our city. After about a year in that program, I decided to step out of my comfort zone and apply to test for a position as an officer at the local PD. I trained and I passed the time run, the bench press, the written test, all of it. I wrote a letter to the department expressing my interest and desire to serve. I also shared with them my expulsion from public school at the age of 12. Shortly after, I received a notice that the event disqualified me for being an officer. This was devastating for me because policing and being a part of that team was a burning desire for me at the time. So, unfortunately and against my will, I redirected my efforts. I changed my major 3, probably 4 times before finding something I enjoyed. I moved from criminal justice to automotive technician to psychology and then finally to business. I earned far many more credits across several different disciplines at this community college than was required to graduate. I didn't really know what or how, but I decided that I wanted to be a businessman. I wanted to wear a suit and to work and be a leader and a change maker. While I haven't quite achieved what I'm looking for just yet, I am working hard to manifest that dream every day. And honestly, I've never felt more fulfilled and satisfied with my career. The moral of this story is don't be afraid to branch out. Don't contain yourself to one path or process. Change may be exactly what you need. Changing pace some, I want to share that I have often felt inferior to some others in the past. I have always viewed some high performers as superhuman. You know, the doctor that has written 19 books and has a happy home life, speaks 11 languages, and is only 29. How in the world is that humanly possible? Fortunately for us average folk, the secret sauce really isn't a secret. The superhumans we know were all introduced into our world the same as us, naked, crying, and with no preparation. We each begin our journey small, frail, and lizard-like, with no structured intelligence or understanding or knowledge or information related to anything outside of the womb. It's learning experiences, trial and error, and failing that all shape us as we grow. Life is a series of trials and errors, learning curves, failures, and decisions on how to move forward after those experiences. I really connected with this idea as a tire mechanic at Walmart. I was 18, and it was my first experience working for a large company. I had very minimal experience in the mechanic field, aside from tinkering on a beater that I had purchased for literally $500. I had orientation at Walmart, we watched a handful of safety videos, and I was sent off to the shop manager. My first job in the shop was a flat repair. The manager informed me, and I quote, "Pull the vehicle in, pull off the tire, and put it in the dip tank." So I did exactly that. I spotted the car in the lift, I raised it, I removed the wheel, and I placed it on the tire machine. I asked a colleague for pointers on removing the tire, and he walked me through the entire process. And then I took the tire from the tire machine and I dropped it in the dip tank. I wasn't entirely sure what I was looking for, but I had pressed on. A couple of moments passed, and that colleague that had helped me remove the tire checked in on me. He asked what I was up to, and I confidently told him that I was looking for the leak in the tire. He looked me over, he looked at the tire, he looked at me again, looked back at the tire, and just broke out into a manic laugh. You know that type of laugh where you just can't seem to get a breath in? Yeah, serious funny stuff was happening somewhere, but I couldn't figure out what it was. He beckoned the shop manager over, who inspected the situation and also had the same reaction. Confused, I asked what was so funny. After finding their breaths and wiping their tears, they explained to me that the tire needed to be on the rim and full of air for the dip test to work. The premise being that the leak would cause air bubbles in the water and reveal where the tire was punctured. Finally, understanding what the joke was, I chuckled and remounted the tire, put some air in it, and finished the repair with a colleague who showed me the entire process. The next time I performed this task, after being appropriately chastened by laughter, I did it flawlessly. I learned a powerful lesson in this experience, and that's the lesson of failing forward. Thankfully, that has followed me through my life since, in the form of attempt, fail, laugh if appropriate, learn, retry, succeed. And I'm going to say that one more time and just let it marinate for a moment. Attempt, fail, learn, succeed. That really applies to experiences at all levels, from an in-depth engine rebuilding to professional credential testing to sports and to even dating. The point of the story is to learn from your failures until you succeed. Do not ever repeat the same failure twice, and give yourself some slack. We all forget to leave air in the metaphorical tire of life, and it's healthy to laugh at yourself occasionally. But I digress. Quickly, I'd like to take a moment to step into a Who Did It Best segment with my favorite failure. Who is Thomas A. Edison? As a child, he was told he was too stupid to learn by his teachers. He was consistently regarded as below average and unproductive. However, we now know him as one of the greatest inventors of all time. As you may know, he held more than 1,000 patents in his name. He is known for his tenacity and fail-forward mentality, which leads to his famous quote, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Unfortunately, some of us are not gifted the ability to fail so feverishly as Thomas Edison. And trust me, it is a gift. We should never, ever take the ability to fail for granted. as a teenager, I worked briefly as a DSP, aka Direct Service Personnel, at a residence for LD, aka Learning Disabled Adult. I did much of the important work, such as changing diapers, spoon feeding, and taking individuals on walks. This experience made me really grow as a younger man, recognizing again how much I really did take for granted. These individuals are literally unable to fail forward, and the ability to make decisions and guide their own future is something not offered to them. They enter the world without the average capacity to learn and grow. But I did not ever think of them as lesser. In fact, I often felt they were more fortunate than many fully capable adults. Many of them still held the spark of a child at age 50, brimming with curiosity and innocence. They hadn't lost their interest in exploration and still find excitement in the smallest of pleasures. I can think of several individuals that I know personally that have a plethora of reasons to be brimming with excitement at life, but do not. It is so very easy for us to become jaded and lose that spark. And if that is you or someone you know, consider taking some time to light that spark again. While I don't know where this will find you or what may have stolen that excitement for life from you, I do know that the easiest way to find and light that spark again is to offer service and share genuine compassion for another. Numerous times I have stepped into a soup kitchen or community pantry and had a conversation with someone that brought me back to what being human is all about. It's so very valuable to get out there and just simply volunteer. Help someone, lift someone up, and you may just get a hand in return to lift yourself out of your own personal darkness. And you never know, you might just make a lifelong friend out of the experience. So we covered a lot in a little amount of time, so let's take a quick moment to recap. Just like a toddler learning to walk, if you fail enough, you will eventually succeed. Failure today is just a precursor to success tomorrow. And if you want to elevate, learn skills, and climb that ladder yourself. Don't contain yourself. You are a dynamic and always changing individual, and what you think is right for you today may not ring true tomorrow. Remember, we all begin life as frail lizards and grow into our future through the experience of life. You can craft your destination. Attempt, fail, learn, succeed. Attempt, fail, learn, succeed. And you haven't really failed. You've just learned 10,000 ways to achieve a result other than what you were aiming to achieve. Do not ever take your mental capacity, your body, or any of the other gifts you have for granted. There are others who would love to take advantage of the potential you have been gifted. Show them and show yourselves you're worthy of the gifts by evolving your mindset and elevating your life. And most important, help others to help yourself. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope you'll tune back in next week, where we will discuss goals, creating a life vision, and some tools to help pull you into your ideal future. This is Jake, signing off. And remember, when things are looking down, you always have the choice to stay up.